6 reasons why this should be your first watch. Most people that ask me about suggestions on new watches, spending $1,000 even though they can afford it, it seems excessive for a watch. That's not essential at this point. So watches are seen as celebrations, they're seen as gifts, they're seen as some sort of achievement, some sort of a fashion accessory that also has a function to it. This is a new entry-level Seiko 5, and I think this is a perfect place for new collectors to start their watch collecting journey. And here are 6 reasons why I think this is a great first watch. The first thing that you look at when you're buying a watch is how it looks and how it wears. So design and proportions are key. If you don't like the design, then nothing else matters. The water resistance doesn't matter. The movement inside doesn't matter. This watch comes in a good case size of 37.5 millimeters with a lug-to-lug of 44.7 millimeters and a thickness of 12.5 millimeters. That includes a domed Hardlex crystal. Hardlex is a proprietary crystal developed by Seiko, and while it's not as scratch resistant as the slightly more premium sapphire, it is relatively more shatter resistant. Sapphire is hard, but that's also what makes it brittle. But what's cool here is that the crystal is slightly boxed, slightly elevated, which allows it to have that distortion that you see in vintage watches with Hazel-like crystals. So it's still cool to have that look at an affordable price point. Now, a case size of 37.5, let's say 38, this is a really good size because it works on so many different wrists. It's not too loud, it's not too big, but it's not too small either. It's just, for a modern watch, it wears well. And the case is well made. The way it curves, the way you have a mixture of brush center and polished edges on the top and the bottom, a signature crown position at 4 o'clock. There's a lot of Seiko, classic Seiko design elements on this watch, but with a modern touch. This watch has an automatic movement. What that means is that you don't need batteries to run this watch. It can just run based on your wrist movement. It's cool, right? Welcome to 2024. No, just kidding. This technology has been there since the 1920s. The movement inside this watch is the automatic 4R35 caliber. This is part of Seiko's entry-level movements, meaning that it won't be as accurate nor have as high power reserve as some of the more premium movements, but it's still a reliable movement. The whole fascination with mechanically powered watches is the fact that this is a timeless technology. This is an old technology that has been evolved and refined over the years to be more accurate, to be more reliable, to be more robust, and still tell time without an external force. The only force it needs is your own movement. There's something romantic in that. And it's a machine that can be serviced. That makes it one of the few things that you can own that has a long lifespan. That's not a disposable piece of junk. The next reason is that this movement, and generally most Seiko movements, are cheap to service, cheaper than Swiss counterparts. Watch movements need to be serviced every few years. These movements have been worked on by a lot of watchmakers, so it's not hard to find a watchmaker that can service these movements. So that's an added benefit to owning these. Seiko is a strange brand. Most of the brands that we know, they sit in a certain price point. They don't go beyond that and they don't go below that. Seiko, on the other hand, is strange because they're one of the few brands that, for one, they do everything in-house. And secondly, they've got watches starting at around $100 and go all the way up to $500,000. Seiko has a few tiers. You've got your basic Seiko, and then you have Grand Seiko, and then you have Credor. There are different levels, not just in terms of price point, but also in terms of how rare they are. And this adds to the point that this is an affordable watch. This Seiko has an 18mm lug width, meaning that there are endless strap options out there for you to choose from. I have talked about Artem, Delugs, slightly higher end straps, but you don't have to spend a fortune. You can go to StrapsCo, you can go to Nomad Watchworks. There's a lot of strap options out there that don't cost a fortune, And that's a fun way for you to customize your watch, make it different, make it a bit more, make this hobby a bit more fun. When I bought my first Seiko, I had heard of microbrands that time, but I wasn't ready to get into microbrands. When you're getting into your first proper watch, you want a bit of history, you want a bit of heritage, you want a reputable name, you want a brand that you can walk into a boutique and feel it for yourself and see it in person, because this is where you're starting to discover this whole industry. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this watch? If you have any other recommendations for first watch at that entry-level price point, at that $300, $400, $500 price point, what would you recommend to someone that's just getting into this hobby? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.